You're smiling outside but breaking inside. And the hardest part is that most people would never guess. They see your laughter, they see your productivity, they see you showing up, replying to messages, handling responsibilities, even encouraging others. From the outside, you look stable, strong, fine, but inside something feels heavy, something feels cracked, and no one seems to notice. This is the quiet contradiction many people live with. The outer expression does not match the inner reality. You've mastered the art of looking okay. You know exactly when to smile, when to nod, when to say, "Yeah, I'm good." You've learned how to keep your voice steady even when your chest feels tight. You've learned how to distract yourself so you don't have to sit too long with your own thoughts. And over time, this performance becomes automatic. But why does this happen? Why do so many people smile while silently falling apart? Part of the answer lies in survival. At some point in your life, you probably realized that showing your pain didn't always bring comfort. Maybe it brought judgment. Maybe it brought silence. Maybe it brought dismissal. So you adapted. You told yourself it's easier to handle things alone. It's easier to keep it together. It's easier to smile than to explain why you're hurting. Smiling becomes a shield. It protects you from uncomfortable questions. It keeps conversations light. It prevents others from worrying about you. And sometimes it even convinces you temporarily that you're stronger than the pain. But the shield that protects you can also isolate you. Because when no one sees the crack, no one knows you need support. There's also a deep psychological pattern behind this, the fear of being a burden. Many people who are breaking inside are the same people who constantly support others. You listen, you advise, you check in, you show up. You become the safe place for everyone else. And somewhere along the way, you silently decide that your struggles are less important, that other people have bigger problems, that you should be grateful, that you shouldn't complain. So you keep smiling. Another reason you might be breaking inside is emotional overload. You've been strong for too long. You've been holding things together without processing what you've actually been through. Stress accumulates. Disappointments accumulate. Unspoken frustrations accumulate. But because you never pause to release them, they settle deep inside your body and mind. And the strange thing about emotional pain is that it doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion you can't explain. Sometimes it looks like losing interest in things that once excited you. Sometimes it looks like irritability over small things. Sometimes it feels like numbness, like you're present but not fully alive. You may even question yourself. You might think, "Why do I feel this way? Nothing is that bad." But pain isn't a competition. You don't have to justify it. Just because your life looks fine from the outside doesn't mean your inner world isn't struggling. There is also the pressure to maintain an image. People know you as the calm one, the positive one, the reliable one. If you suddenly admit you're not okay, it feels like breaking character. It feels like letting people down, so you keep playing the role. You convince yourself you'll deal with it later, after this deadline, after this week, after things settle down. But things rarely settle down on their own. When you constantly smile through pain, you disconnect from your authentic self. You start living in fragments. One version of you exists in public, confident, composed, functional. Another version exists in private, overwhelmed, tired, questioning everything. Holding these two versions together takes energy, a lot of energy. And eventually, that split creates deep fatigue. Sometimes the breaking inside is rooted in unmet emotional needs. You may crave understanding but never ask for it. You may want reassurance but act independent. You may want someone to notice without you having to say anything. And when that doesn't happen, you feel invisible. Not because people don't care, but because you never showed them the real picture. There is also shame attached to struggling. You might believe you should be stronger by now. You might think you've had enough time to heal. You might compare yourself to others who seem to handle similar situations better. That comparison becomes another layer of silence. You don't want to admit you're still hurting, so you smile again. But the body keeps score. The mind keeps records. Ignored emotions don't disappear, they transform. They turn into anxiety, into restlessness, into overthinking at night, into a constant background noise that says something isn't right. You might notice that when you're finally alone, the smile drops instantly. Your shoulders sink. Your thoughts get louder. The distractions fade and you're left with everything you've been avoiding. That's often when the breaking feels most intense. In the quiet, in the dark, in the stillness. And yet the next morning you get up and do it again. You put the smile back on. You answer, "I'm good." You handle your responsibilities. You function. Functioning is not the same as thriving. Breaking inside doesn't always mean dramatic collapse. Sometimes it means slowly feeling disconnected from yourself. It means moving through life on autopilot. It means laughing at jokes that don't feel funny. It means achieving goals that don't feel fulfilling. You may even feel guilty for feeling this way. You might tell yourself you should be grateful, that others have it worse. But gratitude and pain can coexist. You can appreciate your life and still feel overwhelmed. You can love people and still feel lonely. The truth is, smiling outside while breaking inside is often a sign of emotional strength that has been stretched too thin. You are capable, you are resilient, but you are also human, and humans are not built to carry everything silently forever. At some point, something has to give. Part 2. If you look deeper, the smile you wear might not just be protection, it might be habit. Over time, you get so used to hiding your inner state that you stop checking in with it. You stop asking yourself how you actually feel. You become efficient at managing appearances but disconnected from your own emotional signals. And this is where the real danger lies, not in the pain itself, but in the disconnection from it. When you ignore your emotional needs long enough, you may start feeling numb, not deeply sad, not deeply happy, just neutral, flat. That numbness can feel safer than breaking down, but it also dims your joy. It dulls your passion. It makes life feel less vibrant. You might start withdrawing without realizing it. You cancel plans more often. You avoid deep conversations. You keep interactions surface level. Not because you don't care, but because you don't have the energy to explain what's happening inside you. Energy is a key factor here. Pretending takes energy. Monitoring your expressions takes energy. Making sure your voice sounds okay takes energy. Holding back tears takes energy. Over time, this constant internal control leads to exhaustion, and that exhaustion can show up physically, headaches, tension, sleep problems, or mentally through constant overthinking and irritability. There is also a deep longing underneath the smile, the longing to be seen without having to perform, to have someone notice the shift in your eyes, to have someone ask twice when you say you're fine, to feel safe enough to admit you're not okay. But safety doesn't always come from others first. Sometimes it has to start with you. What would happen if you allowed yourself to acknowledge the breaking, not publicly, not dramatically, just privately? What if you stopped minimizing your feelings? What if you stopped saying it's nothing when it clearly feels like something? Awareness is the first crack in the mask. When you name what you're feeling, sadness, burnout, loneliness, disappointment, it loses some of its power. It becomes something you can understand instead of something you have to hide. You don't have to remove the smile overnight. You don't have to tell everyone your struggles, but you can choose one safe space, one trusted person, one honest sentence. "I've actually been feeling overwhelmed." That small shift can change more than you realize. And if you don't have that person yet, start with yourself. Journal without filtering. Sit with your emotions without immediately distracting yourself. Let yourself feel without labeling it as weakness. Because breaking inside is not a failure. It's a signal. It's your inner world asking for attention, care, and honesty. You deserve support not only when you collapse, but before that point. You deserve to be understood not only when you can't function, but even while you're still smiling. The strongest people are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who eventually allow themselves to be real, real about their limits, real about their pain, real about their needs. You don't have to keep proving that you can handle everything alone. You don't have to keep performing strength every day. You don't have to keep smiling through storms no one else can see. Maybe today the bravest thing you can do is admit, even quietly, that you're not okay, that you've been carrying too much, that the smile has been heavier than it looks. And from that honesty, something powerful begins. Not a dramatic transformation, not instant healing, but a slow return to yourself. Because you were never meant to live divided, glowing on the outside and breaking on the inside. You were meant to live whole.